very clear that weightage of class 12th was more in this paper.
If I talk about these comparison between your year NEET 2022.
From animal breeding, 1 question was there. From cell, 4 questions were there.
So hello students, welcome to ALLEN Overseas. I hope your NEET 2023 examination went well. So today we are here to do the detailed paper analysis of NEET 2023 examination. Shweta ma'am will be guiding you regarding physics. I, Surbhi Kathuria, will be doing the paper analysis of chemistry, and Nitin sir will be doing the biology paper analysis. So let's start the session. Let me call Shweta ma'am for the physics paper analysis.
Hello students. So let us start discussing the complete analysis of the question paper that was asked in your NEET 2023 for physics. So here let us come to check the how many questions has been distributed in the whole paper for class 11th and class 12th. If you come to the number of questions, then total 20 number of questions were asked from class 11, which makes 40% of the total weightage of the paper. Coming to the class 12 portion, then 30 questions were asked from class 12 and that makes 60% of the question paper. So now it is very clear that weightage of class 12th was more in this paper as compared to class 11. Now coming to the difficulty level of the paper, you know that section A was having 35 questions which was compulsory for everyone. So out of that 35 question, we have segregated the difficulty level of the paper. You can find here 68.60% of the question were easy. Coming to the medium level question, that is 25.70%, and the difficulty was only 5.7%, which makes a question paper that was from easy to moderate, not very difficult, and only 5.7% was difficult in the paper. Coming to section B, you know section B has 15 questions in that, and out of that 15 questions you have to choose only 10 questions. So that is going to make 35 questions from section A and 10 questions from section B, which is going to make the whole paper, that is 45 questions. So that means you have options to do or select the question from section B. So how the difficulty level of section B this time, it was 53.3% question was easy. Coming to the difficulty level, that is 27.70 was difficult and medium was 20%. So it makes the complete section B, and you know that you had choices. So if we are coming to the difficult questions, you have fair choices to choose the easy questions out of that 15 questions, and 10 questions only you had to do. Now let us compare the level of questions from NEET 2022 with NEET 2023. So these are the dates of NEET 2022 and this is the date of NEET 2023. Coming to the difficulty level, you can see here the easy percentage was 60% last year and this year it was 64%. Again, comparatively the easiness of the paper was more this year. So now coming to the difficulty level, 6% questions were difficult last year, but this time 12% has been segregated to difficulty portion. So maximum of that difficulty questions were there in section B. Medium, 34% questions were medium in 2022 and 24% questions where the level of difficulty was medium in NEET 2023. So on the whole, if we are going to compare the situation, we can analyze that NEET 2023 physics paper was comparatively easier as compared to NEET 2022. Moving to the discussion of the microanalysis of section A and section B, you can see that in section A, most of the questions were asked from mechanics, that is from the class 11 syllabus. We were having 12 questions that was asked from mechanics. Out of that, 7 was easy, 4 questions were medium and 1 question was difficult. Again, from heat, we are having only 1 question in section A, that was easy, and 1 question was medium and total was 2. Simple harmonic motion and waves, and we had only 1 question this year from in section A. Now, as we know that the number of questions were more in from class 12th, so from the electrodynamics, which is believed to be the most important chapter and the lengthiest part of class 12, so from there we got 12 questions, and out of that 12, 8 were easy, 3 were moderate and 1 was difficult. Optics, from ray optics and wave optics. So they combinedly gave us 2 questions in section A, and both the questions were easy. Modern physics and electronics. We got 6 questions from both of that, from modern physics and electronics. So 5 were easy and 1 was moderate, and no difficult questions was not asked as always, because these are believed to be the most easiest one, and it always remains same in every year. Now section B, coming to the difficulty. Again we got 4 questions from mechanics. Now 12 questions from section A and 4 questions from section B. 1 was easy, 2 were medium, 1 was medium and 2 were difficult questions. No questions we got from here from heat. Simple harmonic motion and waves we had 1 question and it was moderate. Coming to the electrodynamics, again we had 6 questions this year from electrodynamics, and in section A we had 12 questions from electrodynamics, and 12 plus 6 itself it is going to give you 18 questions. From optics, again we had 2 questions, 1 was easy and the 1 were moderate, no difficult questions from optics. As always, from modern and electronics we had 2 questions, and both the questions were in the level of easy and medium, and no difficulty was there. So it makes total 15 questions, and out of that 15 you know that you had to choose only 10 and you could have left 5 questions. Now coming to the topic wise weightage chart in physics for NEET 2023, which is again very important. So the highest number of questions were asked from electromagnetic induction and alternating current. Total 6 questions were asked from this chapter, combining electromagnetic induction and alternating current. And from the alternating current, 1 question was there which was asked on displacement current, that uses the concept you study in electromagnetic wave. Second chapter was current electricity, and we had 5 questions from current electricity, and this time from modern physics 5 questions were asked. From kinematics, purely the questions are based on equations of motion, and we had 4 questions from kinematics, including both 1-dimensional motion and 2-dimensional motion. 1 questions were there that was for projectile motion. Coming to the 5th chapter, it is ray optics. Mostly from the lens and critical angle they asked 3 questions, and from optical instruments we had no questions, but still as we know that this chapter is studied combinedly, so 3 questions were asked from that. Coming to the next weightage, it is semiconductor and digital electronics. So 3 questions were asked from semiconductor and digital electronics, logic gates, and 1 questions were on Gen or diode. Next one is electric charge, potential and dipole. Dipole was so important. You can check the question paper. Total 3 questions were asked from the concept of charge, potential and dipole itself. From the properties of matter and fluid mechanics, 3 questions were asked from the properties of matter and fluid mechanics. And coming to the 9th one, it is Newton's laws of motion and friction. 1 question were asked from Newton's laws of motion and 1 question was asked from friction. Easy it was both. Next one is the gravitation. We had 2 questions from gravitation. One was level was a little bit moderate to difficult, but not that much difficult. So 2 questions were asked from gravitation this year. And from rotational motion only we had only 1 question this time. So 12th one is Cartesian thermodynamics. We had only 1 question from kinetic theory of gases and 1 question were asked from thermodynamics. So it makes 2 questions from these 2 chapters. 13th one is magnetic effect of current and magnetism. Again 2 questions were there from this chapter. Electromagnetic waves, we had 1 question that was purely based on electromagnetic wave, on finding out the electric field and the magnetic field. And One question was there which was a mixed concept of displacement current, that was also using the concept of alternating current. 15th one is circular motion. One question were asked from circular motion, and that also used the basic concept of vector. 16th is oscillation, simple harmonic motion. One question were there from simple harmonic motion, and that was there in your section B. Wave motion and standing wave, we had only one question, that was based on organ pipe. Obviously, from the organ pipe we had one question here. From wave optics we had one question. Again, from the capacitor, one equivalent capacitance circuit has been given. It was extremely easy, only one question was there. From the chapter of work, energy and power, again we had one question. And last but not the least, this was very obvious, that error and measurement. One question was there from error and one question was there from measurement. So this is the analysis of physics. I hope it is going to help you for the preparation for NEET 2024 and for those students who are aspiring for the NEETs in future. Thank you.
So let's start our chemistry paper analysis. Now, if I talk about the class-wise distribution of questions in our NEET 2023 examination, you will see that questions percentage, if I talk about from class 11th, it was 46% which came from class 11th and 54% came from class 12th. So from this analysis, you can understand that the weightage of class 12th is on a higher side as compared to class 11th. This kind of analysis we saw in the previous year as well. Now, moving ahead, now let's talk about the level of questions which were asked in this particular examination on 7th of May 2023. Let's first talk about section A. So, if I talk about section A first, you can see that 45.7% were easy questions. 42.90% were medium or moderate level questions and difficult questions were 11.4%. So from this analysis of section A, we can understand that it was an easy to moderate paper because the major portion weightage is of easy and moderate section in our section A, which constitutes 35 questions in each subject. Now, coming to section B, analysis based on the difficulty level, if we see, we can see that easy questions were 26.7%, medium questions asked were 46.70%, and difficult questions or the difficult question percentage was 26.7%. So you can see here that out of 15 questions, you had to attempt 10 questions, and for that this was the level. You can clearly understand that you should have picked not the difficult questions but the questions from the easy and the moderate side. From 15 you have to be wise that which 10 questions you pick, obviously. Now, that was your analysis of section B difficulty level. Moving ahead, let's talk about the comparison chart. So if I talk about these comparison between your year NEET 2022 and if I talk about its comparison with the current year paper which happened on 7th May, you can see the difficulty level. If you see this pie chart, you can see that the easy questions were 36% in NEET 2022, whereas it was 54% in the current year for chemistry. Then if I talk about medium, it was 48%. And if I talk about this year, the moderate level of questions which were asked were 34%. Coming to the difficult questions, it was 16% last year and this time it's 12%. So you can understand that still certain portion of difficult or tricky questions were there. Considering the questions like match the column. So last year there were too many match the columns, but this year the match the columns were around 2 or 3. Also this year we had assertion reason questions coming along with statement based questions which were there last year also. So this year in chemistry we had assertion reason as well, where we do need to practice a lot. And you need to understand that this session is for not just those students who have appeared for this examination already, but also for the students who will be giving this examination in the upcoming years. So this detailed paper analysis will definitely help you to just identify where you need to put in more efforts. Okay, now let's talk about section A, like how many questions were asked from all these three sections of chemistry. If I talk about from physical chemistry part, you can see that the weightage of class 11th was 4 questions. The weightage from class 12th was 6 questions which were being asked. Overall 10 questions from section A. Then you can see from inorganic 11th portion, you can see so many questions came from the 11th inorganic. 10 questions from hydrogen sp you can understand. Then from the 12th inorganic, 3 questions came in section A. And you know that in the 12th inorganic, majorly we have coordination compounds, D and F block, P block, metallurgy, all these type of chapters. Then organic, if I talk about from the 11th part, which includes your general organic chemistry and hydrocarbons part, 4 questions came. And from the 12th section in section A, you can see the weightage is high. So class 12th organic obviously is having a higher weightage. We need to understand that part. So overall, if I see out of 35 questions, you can understand that in physical 10 questions came, from inorganic 13 questions came, and from organic your 12 questions came. Okay, so moving ahead, let's talk about that here. Easy questions in section A were 16, moderate level questions were 15, you can clearly see. And difficult questions, if I talk about, there were 4 such questions. Overall, if we add 35 questions in our section A. Now, let's talk ahead. When we talk about section B, you know total questions which usually come is 15. Out of 15, you need to attempt 10 questions. So, out of those 10 questions, if I talk about, you have to be very wise, because you know that the difficult questions which came, if you talk about the difficult questions, you can clearly see that difficult section, if I talk about in physical, there was no such difficult questions. From inorganic, you can see, and from the organic part, you can see 3 questions were there. So if you have to attempt 10 questions out of 15 and you skip these 3 and 1, 4 questions, so still you are, putting yourself on a safer side. Now, if I talk about overall easy questions in section B, there were 4 such questions. If I talk about moderate level of questions, there were 7. And difficult questions from section B is 4. Overall 15 questions were there. And individually, if you see from organic, more questions were there from 12th as compared to 11th. From inorganic, if we see, 12th questions only were there in section B and there was no class 11th question. From physical, if you see, there were questions from 11th also, there were questions from 12th as well. So that was your section B, my dear students. So alright, now if we talk about the topic wise weightage of the different topics which were asked in chemistry part, you can clearly understand that this particular table is given in descending order. And maximum number of questions came from the block chapters, which is S, P, D, F block. And you can see that year on year, if you'll see, a lot of questions are coming from this particular section. So we make sure that this inorganic part of ours is of our great strength. We'll keep that in mind. So keep this in mind, 8 questions. Apart from that, if I talk about oxygen containing groups, 7 questions came from the chapters like alcohol, phenol, ether, the chapters like aldehyde, ketones and carboxylic acid. Apart from that, 1 extra question from halogen derivatives part also. So overall 8 questions again. Then from your general organic chemistry part, around 3 questions came. Then you can clearly see that around 2 questions have been asked from electrochemistry, your complex or coordination compounds, chemical kinetics, thermodynamics, chemical bonding, states of matter, amines part, atomic structure and solid state. Okay, so this particular table gives you an idea that which chapters had higher weightage this year, because that way you can get an idea about the trend every year, and those students who are preparing for this examination for the upcoming years, they'll be having an idea for that. Now, if I talk about this next table, you can see the remaining chapters which we have here. So you can see that number of questions from polymer and chemistry in everyday life. One question came from each, overall 2. Then from solutions, one question came. From your biomolecules, one question came from here as well. Then in the biomolecules, the question came from the part of DNA. So we'll keep in mind that they're asking these chapters specially so that they are checking your command, or they're checking that you are reading the theory properly or not. Then we had this hydrogen and its compound, one question, and similarly for the rest of the chapters here, like redox reactions, surface chemistry, metallurgy, mole concept, a direct question, environmental chemistry from class 11th, equilibrium, hydrocarbons, and periodic table. So that is your weightage topic wise of the different chapters in chemistry. So students, that was your overall analysis of chemistry for this year's NEET 2023. Now I'll invite Nitin sir so that he can discuss with you the biology paper analysis. Thank you.
Now we will analyze biology paper of NEET 2023. First you will see biology question distribution of class 11th and 12th. If you will see, in class 11th you will find weightage of 53%. And in class 12th the weightage was 47%. So 53% questions came from class 11th and 47% questions came from class 12th. Now we will see level of questions. First we will deal with botany. Here we will talk about the difficulty level. So difficult questions were 8% in botany. Medium questions were 34% and easy questions were 58%. So majority questions were easy. Now we will see the same thing for zoology. Difficult questions were 14%. Medium questions were 22% and easy questions were 64%. Now we will see comparison in between difficulty level of NEET 2022 and NEET 2023. If you will see difficult questions in 2022 paper, it was 11%, and difficult questions asked in NEET 2023, they are 11%. Medium questions were 45% in NEET 2022, while medium questions in NEET 2023 were 49%. Easy questions were 44% in NEET 2022, and in NEET 2023, it dropped to 40%. So we can conclude that this paper is a little bit difficult in comparison to the previous year. Now let's see how many questions came from each topic. First we will talk about botany. If you will see, from plant kingdom 7 questions were asked. From morphology of flowering plants 3 questions were there. Anatomy 7 questions. Cell cycle and cell division 3 questions. Biomolecules first and second. In second we include enzymes. 2 questions were there. From plant physiology there were 20 questions. Then sexual reproduction in flowering plants 2 questions were asked. Then principle of inheritance and variations 3 questions were asked. And from a molecular basis of inheritance 5 questions were asked. Now from plant breeding only 1 question was asked. From biotechnology 5 questions were there. From organism and population 2 questions were there. Ecosystem 2 questions. From biodiversity and conservation 2 questions. Environmental issues 2 questions. Now we will talk about level of questions asked in botany. We will talk about section A and section B separately. Now easy questions were 26, medium questions were 8, and only a single difficult question was there in section A of botany. Talking about section B, easy questions were 3, medium questions were 9 and difficult questions were 3. Total 15 questions in section B. Now we will see number of questions asked in zoology in each chapter. Animal kingdom, 4 questions were asked. From cockroach, structural organization in animals means animal tissues, 4 questions were asked. In human physiology of class 11th, 13 questions were asked. From human reproduction and reproductive health, 3 each questions were asked. Then from evolution, only 1 question was asked. From human health and disease, 3 questions were asked. Now, from animal breeding, 1 question was there. From cell, 4 questions were there. From biomolecules, 2 questions were there. From principle of inheritance and variation, 2 questions were asked. From molecular basis of inheritance, 4 questions were asked. From biotechnology, 2 questions were asked. From organism and population, 2 questions were asked. And from environmental issues, 2 questions were asked. Total 50 questions. Now we will see level of question in zoology in section A and section B. Talking about section A, easy questions were 9, medium questions were 25 and difficult question was 1. Total 35 questions. Now let's talk about section B. Easy questions were 2, medium questions were 7 and difficult questions were 6. Total 15 questions. This was the complete analysis of biology paper. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment box. Thank you for joining this session.